thank you so much. The questions coming out of the from the audience, and I do thank all of you audience, and I think this your question is really very very important questions and really interesting question and really easy question. It's saying that the question is saying that what is the pleasure of the paradise? Saying that the pleasure of paradise. So I'm saying that my response to you for these questions, the reality of the paradise is something which is people will never be able to understand until they actually enter. Actually, after you enter it, you will never be able to understand it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but God has shown us the glimpse of it in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us the glimpse of the paradise in the Quran, but you can't be able to understand what is the pleasure of paradise until you enter it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has described it in the place essentially different to the life of the world. Both every nature and the purpose of life, as well as the types of the delights of the people which. And you see, the Quran also tells us, about the paradise which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers to them, offers to us, and described as great blessing, and the proclaims about the beauties to everyone. It informed people to paradise that paradise is one of the two ways of the prepared of life, and that is the good things to be therein, and proclaim that the beauties of the paradise, and that's really an important thing, and it's very good things to be there in paradise, and degrees that the surfaces of the present ability to imagine. It also shows that the paradise is a place where all blessings have been created, performed perfectly, and where the people will offer everything there, and the people will be able to remove from what from want and need, anxiety and sadness, sorrow and regret. Every kind of beauty is blessings existing in the paradise, and will be revealed with the perfections never seen or known before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God has prepared such blessings therein, a gift, and these will be offered only by people to the people whom He is pleased. But what is the nature of the blessings? Also, questions coming out of the audience is saying that what is the nature of these delights in the paradise, and how will we be different from the delights of this world? We try to highlight a few these differences. The difference. A pure delight without pain and suffering. While people in this world experiences some delights, that so they face toilet and suffering. If one was scratching the life and the lead they live, they will find that the amount of hardship they face, in the much more than easy or to comfort. And so far the life, the hereafter, there will be neither hardship or not suffering in it. People will live a life therein in a pure joy and delight. All the causes of sorrows, pains, and sufferings which people experience in the life to be present, to be absent in the hereafter. Let's look at some of these causes. The causes which is worse. When people think about the success in life, they usually enjoy the imagine of big houses, fine jewelries and clothing, an expensive car, financial stability. It has seen the key, that's happy to be happy in their life. To some people, also for some people that you can imagine that the big houses or jewelries, big things. To most of the people, it is inseparably related to wealth. This is the farthest from the truth. So also, how many times that we have been seen in the wealthiest people living in suicide. They are living in such a miserable life. They are wealthy people. They are living in such a miserable life because of the things that we have. Wealth is something that which humans in their very natural desire at any cost, and its desire has been created for great and wise purposes. When for this reason, also when this desire is not sustained the causes, sometimes, just give to a person. For this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises in the inhabitants of the paradise that they will be able to imagine as far as wealth and belongings are concerned, both for those who were extremely poor and experiences even hunger and thirst. And this all will be to doing, but who desire even more glimpse. God gives us also this glimpse of the Quran, of the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that in the chapter called in the chapter 43 and in the verses 71, in saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that there will be all that the souls could desire and all that the eyes could delight in. And also it's saying that in the verse or in the chapter 69, and also in the Quran, which is mentioned that eat and drink at ease, for which you have sent forth good deeds in the day past. And this is, I could give you as an answer. Let's take another questions from the audience. Okay, come up with the questions. Okay, the question is saying that what about the disease and death and the hereafter in the paradise? As I've said, that another cause of the pain and suffering in the life, that both death and life or none, one or disease. The person which is asking about disease and death hereafter in the paradise, I can say that none of the disease or pain exists in the paradise. None will feel sick or pain in the paradise. The Prophet Muhammad may mercy be and blessings be upon him, said that the people of the paradise, they will never fall ill, blow their noses or spit. And this is how the hadith has been taught by Sahih al-Bukhari. None will be die in the paradise. All shall live eternally, enjoying the pleasures therein. The Prophet also Muhammad also said that sailor will call out the paradise when people enter it. Indeed, may you be healthy and never be sick and skin again, or to be sick again. May you live and never die again. May you live young or never grow feeble. This is the questions which you have about. This could be a little bit answer about for your questions. So let's take another question. The question is saying that what about the relationships, social relationships in the paradise? As we are remorse, as for remorse that felt due to the reptile personal relationships, people never hear any evil or hurting comments in speech in paradise. They will live hear good words and words of peace, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran chapter 56 verses 25 to 26, saying that they will not hear therein ill speech or commissions of sin, but only saying that of the peace, peace and peace. There will be no enemy between people, nor ill feelings. There will not be enemies or people whom are feeling ill or sick. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran also, this is the evidence, mentions in the Quran, we shall all remove from their breasts any mutual hatred and sin of injury, which you may sad, if at all, in the life of this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Quran, and the Prophet also said, there will be no hatred and resentment among them. Their hurt will be one, and they will be glorify God morning and evening. Which has been said by Sahih al-Bukhari. People will have the best companionship. The best companions in the hereafter, who were also best people in the world. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned an evidence mentioned in the Quran in the chapter 4 and verse 16. 9 is saying that, and whoever obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, those who will be with upon him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, upon whom God has best one favor, and the prophets and Stephen affirms of trust and mystery and righteousness and excellence are those who companions. The heart of the people of the paradise will be pure, and the speech will be good, and deeds right, righteous deeds, and there will be no hurtful, will be no upsetting, there will be no upsetting words or deeds. If we were discuss, if you discuss, if we were to discuss all the causes for the anguish in this life, if we talked about these things, we would surely be find that is absence and the opposite to be true in the paradise. And another question saying that how you did require the eternalness. And what about your questions, which has been posted by one of the audience, by one of you, saying that the pleasures or the eternal of the hereafter? He's saying I can't say that. The pleasures of this world is the transient, whilst all the joys of hereafter are lasting and eternal. This life, when even person enjoys something, it is only short for a while before you have got to burn and to the proceed to speech, for something and to feel better, and when you may feel not need for altogether. All for these delights, paradise, a person will never feel bored with. As for delights of the paradise, a person will never feel bored of anything, but rather its goodness and increase each time they indulge in it. Also, the life of the world is short. Human only live in this earth for a short while, and very few people reach the age of 70. Because Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentioned in the Quran, the chapter 4, verse 77, say short is the enjoyment of this world. The hereafter is far better for him who fears Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, who fears God. And another evidence from the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, which mentioned in the Quran, chapter 13, is saying that is the provision of the eternal and the short or the shade. Whatever you must vanish, and what is with God is endures. Also, which I can mention for you, that the superior delights. Someone who is commenting or who is giving me questions, saying that a glance at the nature of paradise as described in the Quran and saying of Muhammad Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let me give you an evidence from the Holy Quran, which Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said that in the second chapter, which he has been prepared for those who believed in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and His Messenger. And another thing is that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, may mercy and blessings be upon him, told us that the lowest in rank among the dwellers of the paradise will have 10 times like the of this world, and he or she will never, whatever he or she desire, 10 times like it. Also, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, a piece in the paradise equivalent to the size of the foot, would be better than in this world what it has seen it. And he said, in the will face us, what our lifelong companions will say about us, and we enters our eternal abode. We begin with a new series of articles about the conversations that take place in paradise and hell. It is hope that the remaining ourselves of what has been described as a paradise or the heavenly grand or the gardens that hell, we will be able to experience and imagine the events that which take place when we come face to face, when we come face to face to obey our to us to do the just, comes to us to do the just. And in the following article, which I've already saying that the conversation of the angel with the people and in the heavenly or gardens, and the people who are the hereafter, hellfire, was the conversation that take place between the people of the heavenly and the gardens, how with their families and members, and the conversations God which has which with the people of the heaven and the guardians and the hell. In addition to this, we will have a look on at what people both heavens and the hells have a say between them, to each other and to their eternal dialogue. Also let's begin with the conversation between about our life after our afterlife will they will are all with us. We will be able to converse with them. The people of the heavens gardens. Let's look at the people of the heavens gardens. The people of the eternal obeyed of those who lived in the life of the paradise, face the adversity and strive to be righteous through the times of difficulty and ease in the eternal heavenly gardens known as Jannah, which is the people whom has spent eternity in the heavenly gardens enter with new home, and the angels will greet them and saying that you are because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, and those who kept their duties to their Lord and to be led by heavenly guardians in groups till when we reach it and grants till when we reach it and grants will be open by offering their arrival for receptions to the angels by praising God, and the conversation continues. Okay, another questions, brothers. Another question. Okay, the question is saying that what is the conversation or the descriptions of the people of the hellfire? The conversations that will take place between the people of the hellfire and the angels will entirely different. Entirely different between the people of the between the angels and the hellfire. The people who are conversation will be entirely different. The doers of the hellfire will be having an entirely different experience. Instead of waiting eagerly, or instead of waiting and enter to be in their eternal abode, the people distant for hell will have heard and dragged by the angels of the in charge of the fire, as the people are cast into the punishment. When they talked about this, the angels respond with words that increase their punishment, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shown clear in the Holy Quran. And those who in the fire will say to the keeper or the angels of hell, call upon your Lord to lighten our torment for a day. The question is saying that how are the conversations between the people of paradise and the people of hellfire. The dialogue that takes place between the people of paradise and the people of hellfire or abades of hellfire is mentioned in the several places in the Quran. And we read and ponder and over verses to come upon those and reflect and to try that to learn something from the spire of those whose face will be horror of hell. We also should test their fear and learn from their mistake. Reading about them in the Quran allows us to experience something of their pain, and also allows us to see easily we can avoid the distinction. We can avoid the distinction between them. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran about the punishment, about the people of the hellfire in the paradise, they will ask one another to be guilty. But yes, we have. And the dwellers of the hell will call for the dwellers of the paradise, thrown down some waters of us, or some of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided you. They will say, or the people of the paradise will say, God has forbidden them to disbelieve of the punishment of God, but God has grounds of us and has saved from the torment of the fire. Also the majority of the verses described and the conversations among the people of paradise confirm the continuous righteous behavior and praising and thanking God's and thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and blessing He has bestowed upon them. Although they will have heard about the God eternity, the hellfire has been heard into the fire. They will shock. They will be shocked at that the people of idols they will have trusted and followed, are all able to help them. They are not all of them are not able to help them because they have worshipped stones. They have worshipped things which has not could not be worshipped, could not be heard. And amongst themselves, they will say that they are able to understand, or they are unable to get out from the hellfire from by the helps of those which has worshipped them. The leaders who call the arrogant in the Quran, admit the weaker followers that they were among us themselves as charity. And thus anyone follows them follow the into the benefit of mercy. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran and say that we will return and say they will turn on the another on the another associating me. This is the conversation which has the Satan, which the Satan is saying that and you will and we will say, and you will say, or we will, and the Satan will say, whenever matter you has been the decision, verily God promise you a promise of truth, and I promise you too, but I betray you, and I had no authority over you except to call you, and you have. Let me take questions from the ladies. Okay, saying that the conversation with the family members, internal dialogue. Yeah, I have said the conversation between the families and internal dialogue and how God react to those people of the hellfire. Let me tell you about the internal dialogue. When the matter has been decided and the people of the hellfire have been led away, the people of the paradise have entered the garden, each group of that in the sign of the in frustration, and it's hard to imagine, but we know that they will appear and give up the hope. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions also in the Quran, as for those who were rich and they will be in the fire, signing or citing in the high and low tone. When people be upon him, that shows us the conversations taking place between the people of the eternal adults with their family members. There is a lower this, however, evidence show that they will be indeed members with rights in the world of the things about the families of the family of the membership. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in the Quran, and they will be approached to one another, inquiring each another. They will say, after aforetime we are afraid of our families, of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God. And God has been gracious to us and has saved us from the torment and the fire. Verily, we have invoked Him alone before. Another question. Another questions. Okay, this is questions from the brother. The questions coming from the brother. It's saying that how or what. The question saying that is coming from the brother, saying that what about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to those who are in the hellfire? The conversations that has been fine, go to Quran. Our Lord, bring us out of this. If ever we return, to evil, and then we will indeed wrongdoers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respond to them. They will say, remain in you, or remain as you are, instead of the humiliation, and do not speak to me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, let me give you a questions which I can say that thank you for the questions which has been said about which has been asked by one of the brothers, and I can return to you as the vice versa of that question, and I can say the conversation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the people of the paradise. In the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that very touching and delightful conversation between God and the last person who to exist from the torment of the hellfire by the mercy of God. The man is invited to enter paradise, and he will say go, and he will go to it and think that the paradise is full. The man returns to God and say, my Lord, I found paradise full. And God will reply to, go and enter paradise, for if there for you have something 10 times better than the world and everything in it. And the Prophet ﷺ said that is one of the lowest status of the people of the paradise.